Hi and welcome. So this time around I'm trying to solve a rather silly problem, but I love these thermoflask containers. They have an insulated vacuum section between the inner liner and the outer, basically making it a thermos. And so they hold temperature really well. They have a decent volume. They're like 32 ounces. And my problem is they don't fit in the tiny cup holders in my car. So I think I'm going to try and solve that and make one. And to get the dimensions here, this is sloping. I used an inside gauge here with a set of calipers, since it's not an extremely close measurement, and measured the top and the bottom, and then used the depth gauge on the caliper just to measure the height to the point so I can figure out what the angle is. So let's see if I have a piece of stock. This will be the world's most expensive cup holder expansion. First step is material choice, and originally I was going to use some solid stock like this, and I was cringing at how much material I was going to waste because I was going to hollow out the whole center of it. So you're basically throwing out most of the material you're using, and considering that you pay for this by the pound, it doubly made it ugly. But instead I lucked out and found some of this material, which is 4-inch diameter, 3-inch inside diameter, 1/2-inch wall material, and it so happens that I can get the inside profile and the outside profile out of this one piece, and most of the material's already been was never put in to begin with, so it doesn't make me feel quite as bad. So we're going to pull 6 inches off this piece and go from there. One thing interesting about the saw blade I'm using, and this is a multi-pitch blade, and you'll notice there's some wider spacing teeth and some narrower spacing teeth, and this helps you cut thinner and thicker materials and softer and harder materials all at the same time. So this is a 10-6, so these are 6 teeth per inch and these are 10 teeth per inch. So we've got this guy indicated in. Problem is, when you grab him from the inside, material like this, if you tighten too much, you deform the shape, so it's very hard to get it perfect. And this is quite a bit of stick out. So what I'm going to try and do is gently face this at a fairly low speed, and we're going to flip it around and then face the other side so at least I'm square. And then I'm going to skin the outside, and then I'm going to dimension the inside for the large container first, and we'll go back to the taper on the second side. Hopefully, this is all my plan. Again, not a lot of experience with big stuff like this. I would much prefer something to hold here, or even a steady rest, but steady rest would get in the way of my cross slide, so we're just going to be gentle with it. We decided it would be safe enough to speed it up a bit, so I did. One side down. Now we're gonna flip it around, do the other side, face it, chamfer, although we don't need to chamfer the inside of the other side because we're gonna remove some material. And I have to remember, with objects that are sticking out from the jaw chuck quite a ways, it's not enough to get it centered back by the jaw, but after you do that, you got to come out here and make sure that it didn't do this, because you can take a cylinder, pick a point, and make it perfectly symmetrical around an axis, but either end could be off. So you can take, if it was the center point here, you could take either end and have it like this or like this, and it would still be symmetrical at the very center point. So you got to be careful. So got to make sure to come out here and also check out here. The outside of this material is really rough, so there's quite a few thousandths, and that's about as good as I can get it. Also, I've got to take into account the fact that when I tighten these jaws pulling out, it's distorting this material and it's making it look sort of clover-leafed a little bit. So it's going to be really tough to get dead on. Facing the second side. that my bandsaw cut a pretty straight cut because this is a continuous chip. The first one I was taking like 5,000 depth to cut and I was getting discontinuous chips. But I just went straight for 20 thousandths, which means that it was at least square within 20 thousandths over 6 inches, which, you know, that's not too bad considering it's a bandsaw. At least that's... So we got a live center in the end because we're going to skin the outside. Probably not necessary since I trusted it on a facing, which is the worst possible scenario. But we're going to use the live center here, and then we're going to go and remove some material off the inside. So next up we're going to bore out the inside, and we need to go in 2 inches, and we need about 400 thousandths worth of material off. So we'll take a first cut. Let's try 50 thousandths depth of cut. Hopefully most of the force is going longitudinally and push it towards the jaws. It may not, and it may be a mistake. We're going to just try it. Like it's okay. Chamfer. Test fit. So we didn't want it tight, that's for sure, because we reach in to grab this, and it's got a nice shelf to sit on, so that should be perfect. So now we're going to take this guy, we're going to flip it around, and we're going to do the back taper to match the cup holder in the car. So before we start turning the taper, we're just going to take the bulk of this material down to the 3.35 roughly. Out is a huge mess. Because we've got the live center in the end, I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. We're just going to go up 1 notch from 300 RPM to 440 next time around. So we bumped up the feed rate. We're at 9 thousandths revolution like we were before. We also bumped the speed up, 440 RPM. And oops, need to increase this to 50 thousandths depth of cut. And the chip breaker's engaging, that's exciting. I don't see that in aluminum all that often. Obviously I'm not doing it right. So this next step is turning the taper, and I'm going to bump the RPM up again. I'm not sure how well this is going to go because I've got to get this end piece fairly thin. Ultimately, I'm looking for about a 250 thousandths change in depth between here and here, and it leaves just the tiniest amount of material in the end here. I probably will end up just parting off the thinner material and let it fit in the top part of the cup holder. It would have been nice if this was 3/4 wall stuff. That would have been better. It would have left more material here to be supporting the bottom part of it, but that's not what it was. So we're just going to give it a shot. This is all an experiment anyways. The reason why this is so long is because the armrest is right up against this one, and so the back of, I have to clear the back of the cup holder, which is actually really quite deep. It's almost a full 4 inches deep. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to turn a 2.5 degree taper here. I expect a fair amount of ringing here too. So as the material thickness gets smaller and smaller at the bottom, chatter becomes worse, and the solution is to dampen it just by applying a little pressure to it. So I think we're close, so we're going to give it a test fit, which means I got to take it out of the forejaw. So hopefully we're right, because I don't want to have to go in and out of the forejaw a whole lot of times, but let's give it a shot. All right. There we go. World's most expensive cup holder extension. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope you find it funny. Hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.